In this video, I'm going to teach you how to make a tech house remix like this. And on top of that, I'm going to also teach you how to make your bass lines go from these boring ones into something more advanced, complex, and professional bass lines like these ones. So make sure you stick till the end of this video so you don't miss those tips. And for those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Vlad and I create superstar music producers. If you're interested in music coaching and you want to work with me one-on-one on your music, all the links are down below. Feel free to book a call with me or send me a message on Instagram. And without further talking, let's get straight into the video. So I have put together a step-by-step process on how you can make tech house remixes like this one. So let's dive into the presentation and talk about that. So step one, you would need to find a good track, and one of the best places to find a good track is going to be the Beatport. So you can go to Beatport top 100, like tech house, bass house, depending on the genre that you produce, and then you just pick the track that you like. So from the list, it could be maybe not even like top 100, but just find the track that you like with a good vocal. The second step that you want to do is just put the name of the track onto the YouTube, and then you want to find the original mix, like with the vocal, so it's exactly the same track. The third step is going to be downloading the track. So all you need to do is to Google YouTube to MP3, and then you want to check if the converter allows you to download 320 kilobit per second, because that's the highest quality that you can get. Otherwise, the sound of the vocal is not going to be really good. Okay, so the next thing that you want to do is extract the vocal. So once you found out the converter, like you found out the track, you found the converter, then you want to download and go to vocalremover.org and upload your file. And then you can save the vocal as the MP3 basically, okay? That's sort of the foundation that you would need. Just get the track, download the vocal, extract the vocal, and then we're gonna have a ready vocal to work with. Now, step 5, you want to make a first demo. So find a good vocal part and start producing. I usually start with the kick, bass, and the drums. And once you have a good foundation, you can start arranging. If you're not sure how to arrange the track, simply copy the structure from the reference track. And why is this approach so effective? Let's jump back into Ableton, and then I'm gonna teach you about this concept. So this is how the track sounds with the vocal. So it sounds really good, really groovy, but even if we remove the vocal and we just listen to the kick, the bass, and the drums, it's still gonna sound groovy. And now we can check the same thing with the melodies, or like with the lead sounds. So even without the vocal, the track sounds really, really good. So let's jump back into the presentation and talk a little bit more about this concept. So when you're starting a track with the vocal, you have a strong foundation, whether it's like a top line, hook, chorus, melody, whatever is the thing that you're working with, right? The vocal is going to be the foundation, and basically we are building our track around the vocal. And since the vocal is the foundation, it's really easy to build. Like, it's easy to come up with the kick, the kick and the bass melody, right? It's easy to come up with chords. It's easy to come up with melodies, like any sound that you can imagine. It's going to be really, really easy for you. And on top of that, everything is working for one groove and vibe. So again, if we jump back, with the vocal it sounds amazing, and without the vocal it sounds amazing. So I could just easily take out the vocal and just have like a full track. So as you can see, I have almost like full arrangement when it comes to that, right? But if you're starting a track with the vocal, what I can say from my own experience, it's generally much harder to start a track because you don't know which element is going to be the main one. You have to come up with a melody, you have to come up with chords and like stuff like that, you know what I'm talking about. And you might even get lost if you add too many elements and so on. And even if you look at the diagram, like it's not as structured together, right? If in this example, like it's really like structured around the vocal and we have like a clear like structure. On this one, it looks like everything is just all over the place. And this is something that I can, like what I can say from my own experience, is going to be much harder. Like not going to say it's impossible, but just much harder. So it would be better if you work with a vocal. And even if the sounds that you have sound good, it might not still like sound cohesive. So that's something that you can keep in mind, right? And the best part about starting a track with a vocal is that you can replace it with a custom one, right? So you can make a similar melody, just find a vocalist if you have some, or just like find someone on Instagram, and then they can come up with a new vocal, like a top line, the melody, and just record something for your track. And you can make a full track within just like a couple of days, right? So that is the thing when it comes to producing a track with the vocal, okay? So how do you arrange a track? When it comes to the arrangement, something that I like doing a lot is just listening to the original one and then just copying the structure and then adding my own sounds. So if, for example, we take the intro, right? So the intro sounds like this, the full track. So really, really simple, just the beat, the kick and the bass. And then if we listen to the original one, it's still gonna be pretty much the same thing. So here you can see we have the micro break, like the micro fill. And then here we have the build up. And if you listen to my version, I did the same thing, pretty much. Just with different sounds, but the structure overall remains the same, right? And as you can see, I pretty much just copied the whole thing, right? Pretty much the same thing. Okay, so let's take a look at the concept visually. So let's say that this is the reference track, right? So that could be like the red one, could be like the intro, and we could literally just copy the intro. So don't be afraid to copy elements, instruments, like structure, like everything. Just copy, and then you're gonna adjust that according to your taste, right? And as you can see, some of the elements are like exactly the same. But overall, if you look at the like schematic structure, like the diagram, it is not the same, right? So it's really similar, but not the same. And this is something that you can apply to your own tracks. Okay, so again, as you can see, we can apply the same concept, and you can just import the reference track into Ableton, and then you just copy the structure. You just copy the arrangement and do the same thing. And once you start adding your own sounds, your own like workflow and how you like your tracks to sound, it is going to sound like your own track, right? And the next thing that I want to talk about is going to be the layering thing. So how do you make your track sound more complex, even if the track is really simple? Because if you listen to the original one, it's like super simple. And what I did, it sounds different, right? If you listen to my bass line, to the drums, and to the vocals, even though the vibe is really close to the original one, it is not the same, right? Just check it out. So even though the vocal is the same, the bass line is very similar. Mine sounds way more complex, way more groovy, and way more interesting. So I'm gonna say that like my remix is much better than the original one. Just a fact. I think it's much better. And if you take a look at the elements that I used here, so I used like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, around like 11 bass lines, like 11 different bass lines. So I want to teach you how to do the same thing, right? So for example, if we jump back into the more simple one, so here, right? That was the original idea, how I started with this track, like just the vocal and the bass line, like super simple, just the drums, the kick and the bass. So it doesn't sound really that bad, like it's still cool, it's still groovy, but I think you would agree with me that this one, like it's way more interesting, way more complex, and it doesn't sound like too complicated. It just sounds interesting, it sounds groovy. So I have a lot of different layers for the bass line. So before we jump into that, let me put that for you visually, right? So why I like this technique, even if your track is very simple, you can apply it and it's not going to kill the vibe. And it's not going to make your track sound too complicated, right? So how to layer sounds like a pro. Let's say, again, that was the example with the track. Let's say that you have just one bass line, and this is just one bass line, right? So all the notes are for this bass line. And then if you look at the second diagram, we have red, we have yellow, and we have green. And you can do as many layers as you want, as long as it sounds cohesive and as long as it sounds good. So in this example, I put like 12 layers or something like that, and it still sounds like really cool, really complex, and I like that a lot. So you simply split your bass line or other sounds, you can apply this for leads, for example, like easily, into multiple layers. So the blue color is the original bass, as you can see, and the other ones represent different layers, right? So if we go back, you can see the original bass line here. And then if we take a look at the layers, so you can see that I'm cutting some of the notes here like this, and then I'm just replacing them with another bass line. Sometimes you can see I have two layers playing at the same time. Like, oh, they actually play together. I think I would need to cut this bass line. But the concept is the same, right? So you split the bass line, you take out the notes that you like the most, and then you put that into a separate layer. So just to show you, let's say it's gonna be this one. We're gonna play. So there's the first bass line, the first sort of like layer that plays. Right? Then we have the second one, like the syncopated one. Let's play like this. So the second one is really creating that like groove. So if the bass line is going like down, this one is going up, or like vice versa. It's like back and forth, like the groove that it, right? The second one, or like the new one is gonna be this, right? So let's listen all together. It's gonna be this one, and then this one is the 808 bass line. So if you listen all together. We have another one, so check this out. This is another type of the bass, and the key to this technique is choosing the sounds that are sort of similar but still different, because you want to have like a diverse kind of sound palette, if I can call it like this, I don't know. But the sounds should be similar, but at the same time it should be like diverse, because you need that variation in your bass lines. Because if I would have put just pretty much the same bass line, it wouldn't sound that good, right? But I put really different ones. If you listen to all together, like it's really cool. And then most of the times, as you can see, the most common like pattern is just putting those syncopated bass lines, besides maybe this one, right? So again, if we listen to all of the sounds together, was one more sound at the end. This one, check it out. This one is really different. Like FM kind of, I don't know, deep house or whatever sound this is. So that's pretty much it. And yeah, as I said, you can apply this concept to pretty much any track, like any genre. It's really simple. Like, it's really simple to do, and I just didn't know before that you could do it this way. And then, for example, if you take a look at the lead sounds are sort of, it's just like basic layering besides this one. So we have the original one. Then we have the second one. Some texture to it. The saw kind of like big roomy-ish kind of sound. And then the last one sounds like this. And all together sounds like this with the drums and without the vocal. One cool thing about this track, if you look at the bass line, like if you look at the melody of the bass line, it has 3 notes. So I literally built the whole track around one single note. It was the F sharp. And then we have 2 variations, so going down 2 semitones. So if you take a look at the bass lines here, they all have one note. It's just simply one note. I didn't change any notes. And the same goes for the lead sound, right? It's just one simple note. And when you play it together with the vocal, maybe when you were first listening to the track, you felt like it's complex, but in reality, like, it's super, super simple. Like, the track literally has just 3 notes and the vocal on top. And as you can see, simple stuff sounds great. So once again, let's listen to the track, and then we're gonna end with this video. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. And the last thing to wrap up this tutorial, something that I want to share with you, is going to be the drums. So I didn't do my own drums for this track. I just used loops because it's really easy and convenient way to make a track, because like, it allows you to work fast, and then like once you finish the arrangement or you get closer to finishing the track, you can always just replace with your own drums. But just don't be afraid to use loops, like really. Like, I was the guy who used to hate loops, but like right now I just use drum loops because it's so like easy to make a track, right? I don't have to focus, I don't have to spend like 1 hour on making my drum loops, right? So I can just put like and then there was one more cymbal sound. All of these sounds are the loops. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this tutorial. Like, I really, really like this track. I think I want to finish it, just replace the vocal and release it. So yeah, I hope you guys like it too. I hope that you learned something new for yourself from this tutorial. As always, I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, leave a comment if you like my content. And once again, if you're interested in one-on-one coaching, you want to work on your music, all the links are down below. And also let me know what was your favorite concept from this video and what video you want to see next. So that was it. See you guys in the next one.